Hey everyone, how are you doing today? This evening, I'm Makeda Valletta. I'm on my IG page, Makeda Valletta Travels. A lot of you know me from other things, being a trainer and a dancer and stuff like that, but I also travel a lot. So that's what this page is about. And there's so many topics I want to talk about, but I'm just so busy and I'm like, I'm not knowing when to do it. But I recently went to Houston and I wanted to talk about my thoughts about Houston. And maybe some people out there who know Houston can put me on to something. So maybe the next time I go to Houston, maybe I'll enjoy myself more. But I was in Houston last month. That was January of 2022. And because of all these mandates in my favorite cities like New York and Chicago, I live in Chicago from New York. Both of them had the mandates. New Orleans, one of my favorite places on earth, had the mandates. So for a second, I was like, maybe I'm going to have to move to Texas or Florida. Even though my ancestral roots are in Florida, I'm not a big fan of it, even though I love the sun and all that. But I said, let me go explore Texas and see what's up. I've been hearing so many things about Houston. People always love Houston. I've been to Houston once before. 5 years ago, right before I moved to Chicago. And I didn't really like it, but I was there briefly. What I did like about Houston was the food and the fact that it was diverse and the people are nice, right? But I love a beautiful city with beautiful architecture. I love a walkable city. And I didn't see that in Houston. But when I was there 5 years ago, it was so brief, I thought maybe I just didn't see the right area. Because like every city, big or small, it takes several trips to that city and to see all the different faces, With every city, you could come to that city and just not be in the right place and have a totally, one-sided impression of the city, right? So I wanted to go back to Houston to see, and I was also going to go to Dallas and Austin, but I ended up cutting it short and only going to Houston. And again, going there for the second time, I don't really see what the thing is that people love about Houston so much because the food is great. Okay, I definitely think Houston is one of my favorite food cities, along with Chicago and Baltimore. But Chicago and Houston are definitely some of my favorite food cities. The food there is so amazing. I could just go there and eat. I like the fact that I found some amazing cowboy boots. I love cowboy boots, and it is so hard to find cowboy boots. And weirdly enough, Amsterdam has a lot of cowboy boots. I don't really get that. Like, I can't find fly cowboy boots in America, but they have them in Amsterdam. But Houston had a lot of cowboy boots, so I found some really fly, unique cowboy boots. So I like that about Houston. And the diversity. People are genuinely very nice. I think that it's excellent service in Houston. Chicago's also has excellent service. And that's the way Houston and Chicago parallel each other. Excellent food, excellent service. But people are genuinely nice there. So I do like those things about Houston. But to me, like a lot of newer southern cities, it's very generic architecture. I did see a few areas, like I forget the name of one of the areas. I forget the name of it. I forget, but I think it was a gay area in Houston. And that neighborhood was really nice. Like it had nice architectures, nice trees. And so I did see like patches of that where like I look down this block and there's some nice architecture and some trees. But a lot of Houston to me looks very generic. I don't like that generic architecture, paper houses stuff where it's made from cheap material. And the driving in Houston stressed me out. Like I better not never hear nobody say that driving in New York stresses them out. Driving in New York does not stress me out. Driving in Houston though, on these big, huge expressways where you got like wide ass lanes of 6-7 cars going, lanes going one direction, and these 3 lanes that go to this expressway, go to this expressway, get these 2 lanes, to go to these expressways, go in those 2 lanes. It's freaking madness. Then you have huge ass pickup trucks, and everybody's going 100 miles an hour because like a lot of the South, the speed limit is like 70 miles an hour. So if the speed limit is 70 miles an hour, everybody's driving 100. In New York and Chicago and DC, the speed limit is like 40 miles an hour and people go like 65. But, there, speed limit is 70, people going like 100, running you off the road. It stresses me the fuck out. Like, don't want to drive 100 miles an hour on expressways, with 7, 8 lanes going one direction, with big old pickup trucks, and the view is not beautiful. And the whole time I'm on the road, I'm just stressed out. And I'm just thinking about how many people probably die every day on these, or get badly injured every day on these Houston freeways. Atlanta stresses me out too, okay? And with Atlanta, it's because you also have 8 lanes going one direction. But people in Atlanta drive crazier than any place I've ever been, okay? They're driving like 10 cars on top of each other, an inch apart at a high speed. They switch lanes without using turning signals in Atlanta. Houston is not that bad in terms of like how they drive. It's just everything is just so big and wide and just overwhelming. So that wasn't enjoyable. I definitely couldn't do that every day. And even the regular streets in Houston are like highways. It's in strip malls. I'm not a fan of strip malls. I feel like I have failed in life if I end up someplace with a bunch of strip malls where I'm just driving from one strip mall to the next. I hate strip malls. I like walkable cities. I like sidewalks. Where you could park your car here and walk around and do stuff. The strip mall thing with all the chains and the generic shit, I hate that. And so that's really what I experienced in Houston. Now, and then it's also a very early city, which I didn't expect, because I've always heard they had good strip clubs and clubs. So it just made me think they must have good nightlife. And any city who has good nightlife is a late city, like New Orleans, like Miami, like New York. Or Atlanta. So because people always said that Houston had this good nightlife, I didn't think that it was an early city. To me, being an early city and having good nightlife don't go hand in hand. Now, granted, I didn't go to any strip clubs because I was by myself, and I don't just go to strip clubs. If I was with somebody, maybe I would go. But to me, if I have to go to a club or a strip club to have fun in your city, then that's not a city for me. I like cities that's cool to have that. Like in New Orleans has dope nightlife, but you don't have to go to New Orleans nightlife to enjoy yourself in New Orleans and just walk around and see beautiful things and stimulating things and artistic things and do something interesting. I really love New Orleans. New Orleans is one of my favorite cities in the world. One of my favorite places on earth. If you've never been to New Orleans, you have got to go to New Orleans. But I feel like that about New Orleans and New York. But even in New York, I don't know. It's getting kind of watered down a little bit. But let me just say that, Houston wasn't really my vibe. And so I'm willing to give it one more chance if I ever was there with somebody who really knows the city, who thinks if they hear what I'm saying and they think they could show me something different. Because from what I saw, the generic architecture, being on the freeway all the damn time, not having a walkable streets, not having beautiful architecture, not my thing. So like I said, Houston, excellent food, nice people, love the diversity. I couldn't live there. Wasn't really my vibe. So I just don't. Because like early cities like Philly, Chicago, LA, I don't think those cities have great nightlife. And DC is kind of early, but DC to me has better nightlife than like Chicago to me. Or LA. LA nightlife sucks. It's like LA nightlife is 2 thumbs down. When your same thing with Philly. To me, when your clubs close at 2, there's just no. Okay. So that's what I got to say about Houston. And there's so many housing developments, which is not just in Houston. I see that a lot in the DMV area, which is the DC area, in case you don't know, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And you see that in other cities too. Not as much in New York, but you're starting to see these complexes where people have the gym in the complex, the pool in the complex, and sometimes shopping centers, all these things in this one complex. Like we're supposed to be in a college dorm. I don't like that. And there's a lot of that in the DMV area, but there's a lot of that in Houston. And people act like it's luxury, when really it's not luxury. It's just open floor plan, where it's one big room that somebody just took sheetrock wall dividers and sectioned off this square and said, this is the bedroom, this is the bathroom, and everything else is the living room and the kitchen. And it's really one big room. You walk out of your bedroom and you're in your living room. I don't like that, I like old school apartments, which is why I'm in Chicago. I have different rooms. I have a living room, I have a dining room, I have a bedroom, I have a kitchen. They're all separate rooms. You actually have to walk out of one room and go into another room. This new open floor concept that they're doing, where you walk out of your bedroom and you're in your living room. And your kitchen is in your living room. So you just got like 2 rooms in the bathroom. I don't like that. There's a lot of that in Houston. I'm not impressed with the so-called luxury complexes or the apartments down there. I'm not impressed at all. So when people say like, oh, it's cheaper, I beg to differ, because I feel like a city like Chicago to me is so underrated, because it's the cheapest city to me to get the quality that you get. There's a lot of quality structures here, beautiful architecture, real buildings, real wood floors and walls. That's what I like. Everybody's different, but that's what I like. I like to have space. I like high ceilings. I like, different rooms. Houston, to me, was just like a generic southern city. Just not seeing, just don't have a super love for the city. Like I said, the people are cool, people are nice, excellent food, great diversity, dope cowboy boots. Those are the things I do like. Because every city has its pros and its cons, and when I start saying the cons, people get so offended a lot of times. Well, some cities people do. So I always got to say, listen, these are the good things. But overall, Houston is not a city that's calling me. It's not a city that I feel compelled to go back to. But it's just because I hear people talk about it so much, I'm like, maybe I'm missing something. So maybe I go back one more time if I had a reason. But I also don't like the fact that you have to rent a car when you're there. Like, if I go to New Orleans, I don't have to rent a car. Like, I can, but I don't have to. But literally, in Houston, you need to have a car. Like, there's no real walkable area. If you are in a walkable area, it's walkable for about 5 blocks, So even visiting, it just makes it an expense to have to pay for. You have the flights, which aren't that expensive, but then the Airbnb, wherever you're staying at, and then to rent a car, you can easily spend $1,000 in 4 days, So the city to me is not that dope to be spending all that money. So that's just my thoughts on Houston. If anybody has anything that they want to share on Houston, something you think I might have missed, something you think I need to check out if I ever go back again, please let me know. All right, so I'm gonna leave that there. I've been wanting to do that Houston video. But yeah, all right. Bye, people. Good night.